The air in the sub-basement offices of the Western Approaches Command is a physical weight. It is 0200, March 12, 1943. Liverpool is encased in a freezing maritime fog that presses against the blackout curtains, the damp seeping through the brickwork and mingling with the smells of stale pipe tobacco, wet wool uniforms, and the acrid metallic tang of the constantly running teletype machines. Down here, below the waterline of the River Mersey, there is no day or night. Only the relentless clattering rhythm of the convoy cycle, a mechanical heartbeat pushing men and ships into the dark. The light is artificial, a sickly yellow cast from green-shaded desk lamps, illuminating stacks of manifests, signal chits and routing ledgers. Every surface is paper. The war, from this room, is an avalanche of logistics. Arthur Dobbins, a junior clerk in the convoy routing section, feels the pressure in his sinuses. His spectacles, mended with tape at the hinge, slide down his nose. He pushes them back with an ink-stained finger. Dobbins is a man of 48, deemed unfit for service by a persistent cough and weak eyes. His world is this desk, this ledger, this single, sputtering radiator. He is translating the grand strategy of the Admiralty into the mundane, vital language of coordinates, departure times, and escort rendezvous points. His movements are meticulous, economical. He lifts a flimsy signal flimsy, dips his nib pen into an inkwell, and transcribes the data into the main convoy ledger. His handwriting is immaculate, a small, tight copperplate script that is his only defiance against the chaos. He is processing 2 convoys tonight, the fast convoy HX-229 and the slow convoy SC-122. Both are bound from New York, now marshalling off the coast of Ireland for the final dangerous leg into Liverpool. His job is to confirm their final routing orders and departure clearances from the assembly point. A signal runner, a young wren, drops another stack of chits on his desk. The teletype chatters. The clock on the wall, its second hand sweeping with agonizing slowness, ticks toward 02:15. Arthur Dobbins feels a familiar weariness settle deep in his bones, the bone-deep exhaustion of a man who knows his small, repetitive actions are the only things standing between a ship and the bottom of the sea. He takes a sip of his cold, stewed tea. The room is quiet, save for the machines. A low, resonant thrum can be felt through the floor, a destroyer, perhaps, moving out into the channel. He pulls the ledger for HX-229 towards him, 48 merchant vessels, including 6 vital tankers. His pen hovers over the box for final departure clearance. He picks up the signal flimsy. His eyes are burning, the numbers blurring under the weak light. He is supposed to be focusing on HX-229, but the paperwork for SC-122 is physically on top of it, its departure time listed clearly, 16 HRS 14 Merar. His mind, fogged by fatigue, transposes the number. For the fast convoy, HX-229, he carefully writes 1600 in the departure column, not the 06. Uduro that was on its original draft order. A simple 10-hour delay. He blots the ink, he stamps the page, he initials the entry. He then files the carbon copy, sending the original to the signal room for transmission. He doesn't notice the error. It is one of thousands of data points he will process this week. The room is silent, the fog thickens outside, and Arthur Dobbins turns to the next file. Oblivious. This single mundane error is the grain of sand that will derail the entire machine. Dobbins, a man defined by his precision, has just become the most important and most unknowing variable in the Battle of the Atlantic. His fatigue is a weapon he does not know he wields. He is cross-referencing manifests for SC-122 when the signal room confirms the order for HX-229 has been transmitted. The convoy commodore, waiting in the heavy swell off Lough Foyle, will receive the order for a 16:00 departure. He will be furious, questioning a 10-hour delay in broad daylight, but he will obey. The intricate, million-part clockwork of the convoy system, designed by the best minds in the Admiralty, has just been blindly sabotaged by its smallest, most reliable cog. The paper trail is now officially wrong. What Arthur Dobbins doesn't know, what no one in this room knows, is that this simple clerical error, this moment of profound human fallibility, has just sealed the fate of thousands of men, though not in the way anyone could ever possibly imagine. The error ripples outward through the bureaucracy with silent, immediate force. In the signal room, the radio operator taps out the encrypted message to the convoy commodore of HX 229. The Commodore, aboard the freighter Manchester Exporter, receives the signal and curses the desk jockeys in Liverpool. A 10-hour delay. Sitting exposed. It makes no tactical sense. But orders are orders. He signals the convoy to maintain their holding pattern. In the port of Liverpool, the machinery preparing for their Aero 800 arrival on the 15th is now stood down. Pilots are rescheduled. Dock workers are reassigned. The entire logistical chain, fine-tuned to the minute, shudders and resets. Arthur Dobbins, meanwhile, finishes his shift. He files his ledgers, caps his ink, and walks out into the pre-dawn chill. The fog is so thick he can barely see the tram stop. He's thinking only of his bed and the small ration of coal for his fireplace. He is a man who believes deeply in the system. He trusts the paper, trusts the process. His internal monologue is one of chronic, low-grade anxiety. Did he file the fuel requisitions for the escorts? Yes. Did he cross-check the tanker manifests? Yes. His life is a series of small, completed tasks. The error does not register. It is buried, invisible, a ghost in the machine. He boards the tram, the vehicle groaning up the hill toward his flat in Bootle. He sits beside a shipyard worker, smeared in grease, asleep on her feet. Arthur feels a familiar pang of inadequacy, the civilian's guilt. His war is fought with forms in triplicate. He holds on to the absurd belief that if his ledgers are perfect, if his entries are flawless, he is somehow protecting the ships he routes. This single unknown mistake is a betrayal of his entire identity. He is terrified of failure. And, 3 floors below ground in the Western Approaches Command, his greatest failure is now an official, operational order, steaming across the Atlantic at the speed of light. This is the central mystery, not an explosion, not a secret weapon, but a piece of paper, a number, a bureaucratic slip that has altered the physical reality of 48 ships. The tension is not in a bang, but in the dreadful unfolding consequence of this silent mistake. The convoy, HX 229, is now operating on a false timeline. It is sailing into a future that was not meant for it. In Berlin, at the headquarters of the Befehlshaber der U-Boote, commander of U-boats, Großadmiral Karl Dönitz is reviewing similar paperwork. His intelligence, fed by the B-Dienst decryption service, is excellent. He knows the standard departure times. He knows the routes. He has positioned 3 wolf packs, Raubgraf, Stürmer, and Dranger, to intercept the next convoy cycle. His pins on the map are clustered around a patch of the North Atlantic, known to the sailors as the Black Pit, the air gap where Allied bombers cannot reach. His intelligence states that HX 229, a high-value, fast convoy, is due to enter that box at approximately 0400 on March 16th. The trap is set. The U-boats are waiting. The hook is no longer abstract. It is a collision course set in motion. 2 opposing, meticulous plans are in effect. 1, the German plan, is based on flawless intelligence of the intended Allied schedule. The other, the Allied plan, is now based on a single human error. A tired clerk in Liverpool has, without knowledge or intent, thrown a rock into the gears of war. The convoy is sailing, but it is sailing late. Arthur Dobbins settles into his cold flat, unaware that his small life has just become the pivot point for one of the most critical encounters of the Atlantic campaign. What he didn't know was that this filing error, this simple, stupid mistake, would irrevocably change the war. To comprehend the magnitude of this mistake, one must first understand the brutal mathematics of the year 1943. The Battle of the Atlantic is not a series of noble duels. It is a cold, logistical war of attrition. The British War Office, in a March 1st memorandum, states the crisis in stark terms. The United Kingdom's import requirements for 1943 stand at a minimum of 43 million tons. Current projected losses, based on the sinking rates of January and February, place our actual deliveries at less than 30 million tons. The deficit is critical. Food, fuel, and steel stocks will be exhausted by October. This is a war measured in tonnage sunk. And by March 1943, Gross Admiral Dönitz is winning. The German Kriegsmarine has achieved what seems to be a decisive advantage. The B-Dienst, their signals intelligence service, has comprehensively broken the British convoy and routing BCR cipher, the code used to direct the convoys. The German U-boat command therefore reads Allied signals almost as quickly as the convoy commodores themselves. A report from Dönitz to Hitler dated March 5th is clinical. Our U-boat arm now fields over 212 operational boats in the Atlantic. Interception of known convoy routes, aided by B-Dienst decrypts, is proceeding with unparalleled success. The Raubgraf, Stürmer and Drenger groups, totaling 42 boats, are being marshaled to intercept the next HXSC convoy cycle. We anticipate record tonnage. And this is not propaganda. In the first 10 days of March alone, 38 ships are sunk. In the second 10 days, that number will climb to 56. This period is known to the U-boat crews as Die glückliche Zeit, the happy time. For the Allies, it is the brink of starvation and strategic collapse. The Black Pit, the mid-Atlantic air gap, is the U-boat's perfect killing field. It is a 1,000-mile-wide stretch of ocean beyond the range of land-based RAF patrol bombers from Iceland and Newfoundland. Here, the convoys are blind. The technological reality is just as bleak. The standard convoy escort, the Flower-class corvette, is a marvel of rapid production, but a poor U-boat hunter. It is slow, with a top speed of 16 knots, barely faster than a surfaced U-boat. Its short forecastle means it pitches violently in the Atlantic swell, rendering its primary sensor, the ASDIC, sonar, almost useless in heavy seas. A field report from the commanding officer of HMS Poppy is illustrative. March 11th, position 55N 30W. Attempted to hold ASDIC contact on suspected U-boat. Sea state 6, ship rolling 40 degrees. Contact lost. 3 merchantmen torpedoed within the hour. ASDIC is ineffective in this weather. We are merely shepherds, not hunters. The system is failing. The intelligence is compromised. The technology is insufficient. The losses are statistically, relentlessly, and catastrophically unsustainable. The Admiralty's Operations Research Department is forced to treat its own convoys as calculated losses, routing them on predictable paths simply because the volume of ships is the only defense. They are sacrificing ships in the hope that some get through. The statistics are cold. The human reality is frozen. A merchant ship, torpedoed in the North Atlantic, sinks in an average of 7 minutes. For a tanker carrying aviation fuel, it is closer to 30 seconds. The life expectancy of a man in the 34-degree Fahrenheit Untergrundseite water is measured in moments. A diary entry from a survivor of convoy On 166, torpedoed just weeks earlier, captures the horror. The sea was on fire. I heard them screaming in the water, but we couldn't stop. The rules are clear. The convoy does not stop for survivors. We sailed on. I saw a lifeboat overturned. 8 men were clinging to it. By the time they were in our wake, there were 6. This is the human consequence of the tonnage war. It is the psychological erosion of the merchant navy sailors who sign on for run after run, knowing their chances are worse than those of an infantryman on the front line. The sheer grinding hopelessness is a tangible force. The crews are exhausted. They arrive in Liverpool, their hands raw from ice and salt water, their nerves shattered from the constant shrieking alarm of the ASDIC ping and the dull crump of depth charges. They have 36 hours ashore in a blacked-out, freezing, bombed-out city before they must reboard and do it all again. Morale is not low. It has been replaced by a fatalistic, numb professionalism. The system is breaking them. The Admiralty knows it. The Roting Office in Liverpool knows it. Arthur Dobbins knows it. Every piece of paper he files is a potential death warrant. Every route he confirms is a gamble. The problem isn't just the U-boats. It's the ocean itself. It's the ice. It's the storms. It's the sheer crushing impossibility of the task. They must move 100 ships a week through a gauntlet defended by an unseen, perfectly informed enemy. The prevailing wisdom within the Admiralty is that a solution is impossible without a new technology. They are waiting for the VLR, Very Long Range Liberator bombers, but production is slow and the Americans are diverting them to the Pacific. They are waiting for centimetric radar that can spot a surfaced U-boat, but the prototypes are still being tested. They are waiting for better codes, but Bletchley Park is struggling to prove that the current one is broken. The entire Allied war effort rests on this failing bridge of ships. The experts, the analysts, the commanders, and the men on the decks all silently agree. It can't be done. The system is broken. If the hidden gears of history, the small accidents that shape the fates of empires, fascinate you, stay with us. The true impact of Arthur Dobbins' simple mistake is yet to unfold. Arthur P. Dobbins is not a hero. He is a footnote, a man built of routine and quiet anxieties. Born in 1895 in the grey industrial sprawl of Salford, he is the son of a textile mill foreman. His life has been one of ledgers. Before the war, he was a senior clerk at the firm of Pemberton and Sons, shipping insurance. For 25 years, he calculated risk. He assessed hull values, cargo liabilities, and acts of God. He was, by all accounts, meticulous, reliable, and profoundly unremarkable. When war broke out, he tried to enlist. He was 44. The recruiting sergeant looked at his thin chest, his thick glasses, and his hacking cough, and politely directed him to the Ministry of War Transport. He was assigned to the routing office at Western Approaches, a role he accepted with a sense of grim duty. His front line would be a mahogany desk 3 floors underground. His personality is a map of defenses. He is quiet, almost painfully shy, and finds solace in the rigid, logical structure of his work. The war, to him, is a terrifyingly illogical event, a breakdown of all the sensible systems he admires. His meticulousness is his armor. His son, Michael, a bright, cheerful boy of 19, is a radio operator with RAF Bomber Command, or he was. His Halifax bomber was reported missing over Essen 6 weeks ago. Missing, presumed lost. The ambiguity is a special kind of torture. Arthur and his wife Mary attend their duties, he at the command, she at the WVS canteen, with a brittle, silent grief that encases them both. Arthur's work is his only escape. He focuses on the numbers, on the routes, on the fuel consumption, because if he stops, the grief will drown him. This context is the crucible that shapes his actions. His terror of failure is not just professional pride, it is the desperate plea of a man who has already lost his son to the chaos. He believes in his heart that if he does his job perfectly, he can impose order on the chaos. He can protect other men's sons. This is his private, undeclared war. He is the man who stays late to double-check the carbon copies. He is the man who knows the fuel capacity of a Flower-class Corvette by heart. He is the last man who should ever make a mistake, and it is this very nature, this obsessive precision, that will make his eventual discovery of his own error so utterly devastating. He is not a bold innovator or a rebellious thinker. He is a cog, a precise, reliable, and deeply human cog, worn down by grief, fatigue, and the relentless damp chill of a Liverpool basement. The realization dawns 4 days later. It is not a single dramatic moment, but a slow, creeping sickness. March 16th. Dobbins is at his desk. The mood in the command is funereal. The news of Convoy SC-122 is breaking. It has been, in the words of the first reports, comprehensively mauled. But it is the next signal, a top-secret ultra-decrypt from Bletchley Park, that stops Dobbins' blood. The decrypt is a German Kriegsmarine signal from Dönitz himself, congratulating the Raubgraf Wolfpack on the destruction of SC-122. It concludes, intelligence confirms HX-229 on same routing, estimated arrival AK-55 0400 16 Ma. Await and engage. Victory is assured. Arthur Dobbins reads the intercept. 0400 March 16th, that's this morning. He knows HX-229. He routed it. He feels a prickle of sweat on his collar. He walks, stiff-legged, to the main filing cabinet. He pulls his carbon copy ledger for March 12th. His hands are shaking. He finds the entry, Convoy HX-229. He sees the departure time. He wrote, 16:00:14 MEAR. He knows instantly what he has done. The intended departure was 06:00. He delayed it by 10 hours, but the consequences were far greater. That 10-hour delay meant HX-229 missed its rendezvous with its destroyer escort, which had to be reassigned. The entire convoy was held back a further 24 hours to wait for a new escort group. His simple 10-hour error had created a cumulative 34-hour delay. The convoy, which should have been at Grid Square AK-55 this morning, at the mercy of the waiting wolf pack, was, in fact. Dobbins scrambles to the operations map. He checks the latest position report. HX-229 is still 400 miles east of the trap, steaming in heavy weather, blissfully unaware. His first reaction is not relief. It is stark, visceral terror. He has failed. He has broken the system. He stumbles to the office of his superior, Lieutenant Commander Davies, RNVR. He is pale, his voice a dry whisper. "Sir, I've made a mistake, a terrible mistake." Davies, a harried former solicitor, looks up impatiently. "What is it, Dobbins? We're a bit busy." Dobbins lays the ledger on the desk, next to the Ultra Intercept. Convoy HX-229, sir. The routing order. I filed the wrong departure time. Davies' face darkens. "You what? Man, that convoy is already—" He stops. He looks at the intercept. He looks at the ledger. He traces the map. He does the math. The fury on his face dissolves, replaced by a profound, stunned confusion. "My God, Dobbins," he breathes. "You! Do you realize what you've done?" Arthur, still believing he is facing a court-martial, can only nod, his eyes filling with tears. "I delayed them, sir. I'm sorry." The revelation hangs in the air, thick and unbelievable. Lieutenant Commander Davies stares at the map, his mind racing. The secret test is no longer a secret. It's a live, unfolding operational crisis that must be managed. The immediate tension is electric. HX-229 is still at sea, and the Raubgraf Wolfpack is still waiting, confused and angry, in the patch of empty ocean where their prey was supposed to be. "Mr. Dobbins," Davies says, his voice sharp, "this error is now the most valuable piece of intelligence we have." He grabs the phone. "Get me operations. Priority 1. The room, once a quiet backwater of filing, is now the nerve center of a frantic, desperate gamble. The preparation is not of prototypes, but of pure information. They have, completely by accident, been given a map of the enemy's mind. They know precisely where 42 U-boats are. Davies, Dobbins, and 2 senior operations officers unroll a new chart. The air is blue with smoke. "They're here," Davies says, circling grid square AK-55. "Machex 229 is here." He draws a new line. "We must route them north, immediately, far north." A younger officer protests. "Sir, that's into the ice fields and the storm track. We'll lose ships to the weather." Davies slams his hand on the table. "We'll lose all of them to the torpedoes if we don't. This isn't a routing change, gentlemen. This is an escape. Mr. Dobbins, I need every single weather report from the Icelandic Meteorological Station for the last 48 hours. Arthur, galvanized, snaps into his element. He is no longer a terrified clerk. He is a man with a problem to solve. He begins pulling files, cross-referencing barometric pressures, calculating storm speeds. This is the new alliance, the harried RNVR officer and the meticulous grieving clerk. They are constructing a new reality for HX-229, one based on the ghost of a mistake. The sensory details are of frantic, quiet work, the scraping of parallel rulers on the chart, the smell of fresh ink on the signal pads, the constant urgent clatter of the teletype as they request position updates from the escort commander. They are planning in a vacuum, under immense pressure. The forbidden experiment is this: diverting an entire convoy into one of the most dangerous, uncharted patches of the North Atlantic, based on a Clerk's error and a single enemy transmission. They are betting 48 ships and 3 Zerzeran men on the hope that Dobbins' mistake has given them a 34-hour head start. Davies gives the final order. "Encrypt it. Signal the Commodore. New route. Effective immediately. God help them." The test is twofold. The first part is defined by silence. It is 0400, March 16th, in the cockpit of U-405, a Type 7C submarine at the very center of the Raubgraf patrol line. Kapitän Leutnant. Rolf Bruns peers through the periscope. The sea is empty. The night is clear, the stars brilliant. His hydrophone operator reports only the sound of the ocean and the grinding of his own sister ships, searching. "Nichts, Herr Kaleu." The operator's voice is tinny in the control room. "Silence." Bruns is furious. The intelligence was perfect. B. Dienst confirmed the route. The convoy should be here. He surfaces the boat. The air that floods the control room is bracingly cold, cutting through the stench of diesel, sweat, and unwashed bodies. The sea is utterly, profoundly empty. This nothingness is the first sign of success. The trap has failed. The ghost convoy, delayed by Dobbins, has evaporated. The second part of the test is the breakthrough. Miles away in the damp, cold Liverpool basement, the signal comes in. It is another ultra-decrypt. Dönitz is raging. Raubgraf reports rendezvous empty, intelligence compromised, or route changed. Search west. Find them. Davies reads the flimsy and lets out a breath he seems to have been holding for hours. He looks at Dobbins. He doesn't smile. He simply nods, a gesture of profound, shocked acknowledgement. The error worked. The delay saved them from the trap. Dobbins feels a wave of nausea, relief, and terror all at once. The convoy is safe. For now. The realization is staggering. The most complex, high-stakes intelligence operation of the war has been successfully, accidentally, performed by a man who simply wrote down the wrong number. The awe in the room is palpable. They have seen the hand of God, and it is holding a cheap nib pen. If stories like this, where the fate of thousands hinges on a single unseen moment, fascinate you, stay with us. The next chapter of this accidental victory is even more surprising. The relief is short-lived. The success of the delay is confirmed, but the convoy is still in mortal danger. The confrontation is not a tribunal, but a high-pressure emergency meeting at Western Approaches HQ. Captain D. Destroyers and the Commodore of Convoys are present. The room is thick with authority. Lieutenant Commander Davies is summoned. He brings Arthur Dobbins, who stands by the door, clutching his ledger like a shield. The Commodore, a man with a face like carved granite, is incandescent. "Davies, your department issued a 10-hour delay without authorization. That delay cascaded. It has thrown the entire cycle into chaos. Explain yourself." "The tension is that of institutional fury. This is a breach of the sacred system." Davies is calm. He lays the Bletchley Park intercepts on the table. "Commodore, the initial delay was, as you say, an error." He gestures to Dobbins, who flinches. "A clerical error made in Mr. Dobbins' section." The Commodore's eyes bore into Arthur. "A clerical error," Davies presses on. "Yes, sir. But that error, sir, is the only reason we are not, at this moment, counting the loss of 48 ships. Please read the intercepts." He slides the Ultra decrypts across the table. He points to the map. "This is where Raubgraf was waiting. This is where HX 229 should have been. And this," he taps the flimsy, "is the signal from Dönitz, confirming they found nothing." The room falls silent. The Commodore reads the intercepts, his brow furrowing. He looks from the map to the terrified clerk by the door. This is Dobbins's defense, and it is delivered by Davies. "Sir, Mr. Dobbins' error, by pure dumb luck, saved this convoy from a perfectly laid trap. When he discovered his mistake, he reported it. We then used that accidental knowledge, combined with the ultra signal, to reroute the convoy north into the storm track." The Commodore looks at Dobbins. His voice is quieter, but no less intense. "You made this error?" Dobbins can only nod, his voice a whisper. "Yes, sir. I mistook the time from the SC-122 flimsy. I was tired, sir." The Commodore stares at him for a long, agonizing moment. The clash is not of personalities, but of philosophies. The rigid, infallible system versus the chaotic, fallible human. The Commodore picks up the ledger. He looks at the entry. He looks at the intercept. He says nothing. He simply turns to Davies. "Ensure the northern route holds. Get them to Halifax." The confrontation is over. The error has been absorbed by the machine. The true test is now survival. The scene shifts from the smoky meeting room to the bridge of the SS Mary G. Prentice, a standard-issue Liberty ship at the heart of Convoy HX 229. The rerouting has sent them far north, into the teeth of a Force 10 gale. The combat is not against U-boats, but against the sea itself. The sky is a low, bruised purple. Waves 60 feet high crash over the forecastle. Ice, growlers carved from the Greenland ice sheet, grinds against the hull. The ship's plating groans, a sound like a dying animal. The lookout, lashed to his post, is encased in frozen spray. The convoy has scattered. Unable to keep formation, they are alone, fighting the ocean. The Commodore's new order is simple. Best speed to Halifax. Godspeed. This is the application of Dobbins' mistake. The U-boats of Raubgraf, now hundreds of miles to the south, are on a futile search, burning precious fuel. They are hunting a ghost. The real convoy is engaged in a brutal fight for its life against the elements. A field report from the escort commander, HMS Havelock, captures the scene. March 17th, position 61N, 35W, sea state 9. Lost visual contact with 12 merchantmen. Ice flow extensive. ASDIC is non-operational due to wave action. Impossible to hunt U-boats in this sea. But by God, it's impossible for them to hunt us either. The storm, which would have been a secondary threat, is now their primary shield. The U-boats cannot use their hydrophones in the roaring sea, nor can they risk surfacing to use their deck guns. The wolf pack is rendered impotent, not by destroyers, but by geography. The impact is quantified in the arrival logs at Halifax, Nova Scotia. On March 21st, battered, coated in ice, and days late, the ships of HX 229 begin to limp into port. The Mary G. Prentice is one of them, its forward railing twisted into scrap. One by one, they arrive. The final tally is staggering. Losses to weather. 2 ships foundered in the storm. Losses to enemy action, 0. 46 of the 48 ships, including all 6 vital tankers, arrive safely. 200 tons of war material, tanks, ammunition, fuel and food are saved. 3 men are delivered. In the Western Approaches Command, a single, sterile signal is pinned to the board. HX 229. Arrived, see amended manifest. Lieutenant Commander Davies allows himself a small, tight smile. He walks past Arthur Dobbins' desk. He doesn't stop, but he places a single, fresh signal flimsy on his blotter. Well done, Mr. Dobbins. Now, about Convoy on 175. The approval is silent, but absolute. The immediate outcome is, paradoxically, silence. The Dobbins error is classified at the highest level. Filed under the ultra-secrecy blanket, it is an operational anomaly, an embarrassment, and a miracle that the system cannot acknowledge. To celebrate it would be to admit that the entire Allied convoy strategy was saved by sheer blind luck, and that its own intelligence codes were compromised. Arthur Dobbins is not promoted. He is not given a medal. 2 weeks later, he is quietly transferred to the Naval Victualling Department at Rosyth, Scotland. His new job is to count crates of dried eggs and canned beef. It is a lateral move, a bureaucratic erasure. He has become a problem that the system has solved by filing him away. Just as he once filed his reports, he never speaks of it. The knowledge of what he did, his failure and his triumph, is a weight he carries alone. The long-term effects are more subtle. The event becomes a classified case study for the nascent field of operations research. In 1944, a secret Admiralty paper, A Statistical Anomaly in Convoy Routing, March 1943, speculates on the U-boat failure to engage. The analysts, lacking the human context, theorize that a ghost signal or a sudden localized magnetic storm may have confused the U-boats. The human element, the tired clerk with the leaky pen, is never considered. The true legacy is the lesson learned by the handful of men like Davies who knew the truth, that human fallibility, while dangerous, is an unpredictable variable that can, on rare occasion, defeat a perfectly logical enemy. The German reliance on B-Dienst, their perfect intelligence, became their Achilles' heel. They could not conceive that their enemy's plan would be wrong, not because of deception, but because of a simple human slip. Arthur Dobbins returns to his life as a clerk after the war. His wife, Mary, passes in 1952. He lives out his days in a small flat. His heroism unknown, his one great accidental contribution to history buried in a file marked top secret. He dies in 1958 of the same cough that kept him out of the infantry. He is forgotten. He is a man who saved 3 souls and 46 ships, not with a weapon, but with a mistake. His legacy is the silence of the empty sea where the Raubgraf pack waited, and the safe arrival of a convoy that should, by all logic, have been at the bottom of the Atlantic. Today, our world is governed by systems of breathtaking complexity. High-frequency trading algorithms move global markets. GPS satellites navigate our ships and planes with centimeter-level precision. Military logistics are managed by artificial intelligence that can process variables far beyond the scope of a human mind. We have, in essence, spent 75 years trying to eliminate the Arthur Dobbins variable. We have built a world that prizes infallible logic, predictive modeling, and the perfection of the algorithm. We have built systems designed to be immune to fatigue, grief, and the simple human error of transposing two numbers. We have built a machine that cannot make a mistake. But the story of HX-229 is a quiet, powerful counter-narrative. It's a reminder of the strange, unpredictable, and sometimes vital role of human noise in a rigid system. It cautions us against the hubris of believing our systems are perfect, or that the enemy's intelligence is infallible. The Raubgraf Wolfpack failed, not because its technology was poor or its commanders inept, but because they put their absolute faith in a logical system that could not account for the one thing that defines us: our fallibility. This is not a celebration of error. It is a recognition of humility. It is the understanding that in any human endeavor there will always be ghosts in the machine. Sometimes those ghosts are the very things that save us. The real ledger, bearing Dobbin's faded copperplate script, still exists. It sits in a climate-controlled archive, a single line item in the vast digitized record of the war. We can still see it. HX-229, departure 1600. It is a silent witness. It is the physical evidence of a moment when the entire grinding calculus of war, a formula of steel, fuel, and explosives, was defeated by a tired man, a cold cup of tea, and a simple slip of the pen. Every great idea, or in this case, every monumental accident, begins as a disruption of the expected. What impossible ideas or simple errors do you think could change the world? In the calculus of war, the greatest victory may not be a battle won, but a torpedo that passes harmlessly through an empty sea, all because a tired man put a form in the wrong box.